singer, and I'm not even sure that I'm a person, let alone an interesting person. But for a while there, I was acting like I was the Fat Man, legendary game audio guru. And I've been making sound, mostly music, for video games longer than just about anybody in America. There's one of the guys been doing it a little bit longer. So when I was in college, and yes, they let me in. I played a lot of Asteroids and Missile Command, and I liked those, and I was in a rock and roll band. And I wanted to be in a great rock and roll band, but I got this feeling that everything that could be done with rock and roll had been done. And I like to spend my time playing these games. I thought, well, these games are what rock and roll used to be. Parents don't understand them, the kids do. And games were different then. They weren't a corporate thing. They weren't really being advertised. You would walk around your neighborhood, you'd go into a supermarket or a laundromat, you'd find a game, and you'd tell your friends about it, and they would come and play the game with you. And so it was like we discovered something. So I thought that was very cool. And a few years later, after a few years of playing, I found a friend of my brother's who was writing games, programming games for television. And I said, I'll do anything you want for free. So I'll empty your trash cans. I want to get into that business. He said, well, you write music, don't you? I said, yeah, well, kind of. I had a composition degree. I wasn't very good at piano or anything like that. And he said, well, write me a song. So I wrote him a little song, and it went into the game Thin Ice for television. The rest is very slow history. I first discovered rock and roll music, and I did discover it too, so don't thank me or anything, but where it was hiding was in the TV show The Jetsons. Jet Screamer was the first great rock and roll that I discovered, and I just heard that song, Swivelin', and then after that, Eep Opporn, and I just was so covered with goosebumps, and so high, and like tears in my eyes. I thought, this is really great. And then everything that the Beatles did too. My babysitter came home with the single, with Beatles singles every once in a while playing for us. Again, goosebumps, and just will sound like nothing else. So for me, that was rock and roll. What did I do? I had this feeling like this is not something that a mortal can do. So when I slowly realized that you actually could go into a guitar store and save up, spend $200, still not $200, and actually obtain an electric guitar that just seemed freaky to me. Mind just focused on it. Of course, there's something about what the Beatles did. There's something outside of this world that was being touched somehow, and I didn't really know what it was. And I wanted to somehow do that thing. It was hard to identify, and it was hard to do it. I didn't figure anything. I was just drawn to it. That's how mine goes. I did the same thing with video games I did with rock and roll. Rock and roll. When I got my electric guitar, I also bought myself a bass, and then I found a friend who would learn bass, and I just taught him bass. It's not like he wanted to learn it or anything. I just put him down right here on that couch, actually where we are, and gave him the bass and taught him boom, 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 boom. And then I played the chords along with that, and then we said, well, let's get Ron, our buddy, over. He plays ragtime piano. And we all went out to the living room, and we played a little bit around the piano. And my mom said, let your brother play. He plays drums. We're like, we have to. Well, Dave has gotten like 5 grades since then playing drums. So somehow we just stumbled into it first crack. We were together for 3 years or so, 4 years. And a similar thing happened in college. But then with the video game music, I was just doing it myself. And the best musicians that I knew, the best musician I knew, I gave him some work, and he liked it. We became really good friends. Another guy had read some articles I'd written, and he wanted to study under me or something. You know, he was a sweet guy. He respected me. He sought me out, so he joined. And there was another guy who was just kind of a goof. Dave Govett, who, you know, the first time I met him, he said, "Could you come over and pick me up at the bus stop?" You know, I was going to show him my studio, and he said, "Yeah, I'm at the bus stop. Could you come over and pick me up?" And he actually turned into one of the greatest game composers of all time. He was the first guy to imitate John Williams in a game score. He did the music for Wing Commander. He did just some of the most famous stuff there is. So those guys are Joe McDermott, Dave Govett, and Kevin Phelan, and they became my little team fat. And they used to go around. We would compose together. We composed separately, but we also formed a little rock and roll band. Well, the question being, how excited or fearful am I about changing media? And am I worried about the medium that I'm invested in? I'm not invested in any medium. I'm invested in creativity. I like seeing fashions come and go. Sometimes we're a little bit relieved to see, we're secretly relieved to see that our cassettes can't fit in the machine. You can unburden yourself of all the cassettes. You know, well, I can't play those anymore. So now it's 300 things I don't have to worry about. I don't think that the album as a form can die. I don't think that people will stop listening to long pieces of music or things that are supposed to go this way. When the fashion swings over to one way or another, when people start all listening to music a certain way, it's impossible. Nobody all listens to, no such thing. So when the fashion swings one way, then a little group of hip people pop up somewhere else, and they start listening the other way. Somebody is writing. When Beethoven wrote the Ninth Symphony, everybody else stopped writing symphonies because they said, "That's it. It's been done. It can't be done any better." And so what happens now? Well, there's a few years of nobody writing anything, and then these little Schumanns and Schuberts come up and start writing heart songs that are 2 minutes long. You can't do a symphony. Well, that was a phase for a while, and then it passed, and people write symphonies again. And technology interweaves through it, but there's always retro. There's always something good going on, and it's just impermanent, passing, and interacting with itself, and it's all fun. No, I'm not even invested in the medium. I guess the fat man was, but I'm not. Okay. The band, that first band, used to practice here. Paul sat here when I taught him the bass. We used to have the drums over here and our little amplifier. My parents' part of the house is all that way, so they were able to sleep usually sometimes when we were practicing. This is where I have my studio now. So for what it's worth, here's the sitar. It's sort of tuned. There's the accordion. This is the rig that I've been using lately. I used to have a big room. This is where I don't have anything really loaded up for you here. But this is where I've been making my music. If you want me to load a couple of things up, I can. Keyboard here, guitars, all within reach, and acoustic instruments, microphones. And then got a quiet room over here for the rest of the instruments and noisemakers. So I can control that computer from in here. Got the good mic, the dulcimer, the synthesizers, the
brass instruments and such, and drums. And then these up here are squeakers, clankers, bangers, broken bells. It's labeled bells, broken plaster, clankers, things for sound effects. So when when you're making sounds, small trombone, tools, that's the kind of thing, flutes, and then a closet full of guitars and effects, because you need guitars and effects. I think that's probably it. We don't need to see the camera.